Gary Parrish, CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast here with Tommy Lloyd, head coach at Arizona. So this is year 5, first 4 years, 4 straight NCAA tournament appearances, 3 Sweet 16s. When did you realize being a Division I head coach was going to be so simple?
Oh, my God, you're crazy. It's not simple. I mean, you talk about maybe doing it in the craziest era of all time.
Yes.
But it's been awesome. I mean, it's a dream. It's a dream. And, you think back to, growing up, being a huge fan of sports and just all things sports. And the next thing you know, you're head coach at the University of Arizona, and it's going in your 5th year. And, you remember those, Saturdays you and I would wake up and there'd be, you're watching a West Coast game, Arizona, UCLA, and then you're watching, a Big East game, Georgetown against somebody, and like a Big Ten game. And that was your Saturday. So like just doing that your whole life and knowing right now you're sitting in one of those places is pretty cool.
Obviously, it's not simple. I say that tongue in cheek, but you have made it look easier than it obviously is. Things have gone well. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. They asked me about somebody who had been a longtime assistant coach and is, perhaps on the verge of becoming a head coach. And they said, what do you think? And I said, I've been doing this long enough at this point now that there are assistant coaches that I would have bet my life once they got the head coaching opportunity, they would kill it. And, now they work in television. and then there's other guys. There's other guys who I would have said that's great assistant coach, but that's probably where he belongs.
Yeah.
And now they're head coaches and they're flourishing. Talk me through any reservations you might have had. Like, I know you believed in yourself, but you don't know until you know.
I think a couple things that I can say to that. For one, let's talk about you, though. You could have been a heck of a wiffle ball coach.
Once upon a time.
Yeah. Well, but getting back to the question at hand, I was in a great spot, at Gonzaga, and there was no master plan to go there. I just got an opportunity to go there as a young guy, and the program didn't, it was kind of this really cool foundation was being built, but they didn't have a lot of resources. So there wasn't a lot of manpower. So when I stepped in basically as like a volunteer assistant / GA, you got to do everything. Right. I mean, you got to participate in every part of the program, aside from making coaching decisions, but like all the manual labor and the manpower that goes into running the program, you were a part of it. So I think that was a great foundational build for me. And then I fell in love with the place. Yeah. And then you looked around and, you sat in the bleachers with all these coaches talking, job rumors and this and that. And it's just something I decided not to participate in. And just, hey, I'm going to become the best coach I can, and whatever happens, happens. And so I kept it pretty simple. But I would say it goes to this, like, one thing I knew is winning is hard.
Right.
And the job you take is so important. And for me, Arizona obviously is one of the great programs in college basketball. Who would have ever guessed it's my first job? Yeah. I just waited so long that eventually the dots got connected, and I was able to start my job at a place where you could come in and had strong bones, and you had a great foundation to build off of. So I was fortunate. I would say some of these great coaches, they probably still are good coaches.
Right.
But they chose a hard job, and there's circumstances there, whatever. Maybe it's resources, maybe it's the administration change. We know that played into them not being successful, because winning is hard. So I knew, like, I could go to school X,
right,
and maybe be destined to be this great coach I wanted to be, but fail.
Right. And
once you do that,
then you're branded that way.
You kind of almost get one shot.
Yeah.
And so somebody, a guy, told me something that was pretty smart once, and he was like, when you're handling your career, deposit, but approach it like you only are allowed to take one withdrawal. When are you going to take that withdrawal? Because like if you take that withdrawal too early, you'd have no compounding interest. There's not enough to compound later. Yeah. If you can wait long enough and take it at the right time, now maybe you can get some compound interest, some compound return on your investment. And so I thought that was really cool. That's how I, looking back at it, how I approached it. Let's not call it a master plan, because there was no master plan. I'm lucky. I've done one job interview my whole life.
Wow.
The University of Arizona. I've done one resume, the University of Arizona, and I did it after I knew I had the job.
Right.
So, my job interview at Gonzaga consisted of me, Coach Few, kind of saying, hey, I guess you're around. I'm like, we had this guy leave, and you're really good socially, but you know, and the guys love you, but you know, you got to be more organized. You got to do this. You got to do that, and you got the job. And I'm like, yes, sir. I mean, that was simple. That was how it started at Gonzaga.
Well, it's interesting because obviously you're an assistant coach at a program that is excelling like that program was excelling. You're going to get opportunities. Like if you wanted to be a head coach before you became Arizona's head coach, you could have. But it sounds like you understood, and there's a lesson probably for young coaches out there. Why do I need to take the tough mid-major job to try to get the good job if maybe I can skip that part of this process?
Well, I mean, yeah, probably a gamble, a little bit of a gamble. But like, honestly, I never thought about being the head coach at Arizona. Yeah. I honestly thought I was Bill Guthridge. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. Yeah. Because Bill Guthridge's name is on a National Coach of the Year award. Yeah. Bill Guthridge has been to a Final Four as a head coach. Yeah. And so I saw no problem serving the University of Arizona, serving FUE for all those years. I never looked at it like I was settling for less than what I could be getting elsewhere. Right. And so I just never approached it like that. And I was happy. And, we still have great friends in Spokane, and we had an incredible experience. And obviously, we're chasing another challenge now, but those were awesome years, and I'm grateful for having them.
Let's talk about your basketball team. Exhibition beat St. Mary's. I love that you scheduled that game with the old West Coast Conference, history. Shot about 50% for the field, played well. And I was reading quotes afterward, and you said, one thing we need to do is be better about getting deeper into our offense. I know what you mean, but explain that in simple terms.
Well, out of respect for your opponents, and obviously we're going to play a tough schedule, and it's going to hit hard and fast. You're not going to be able to come down and just, score off one action. You're not, you have to be able to get comfortable, searching for opportunities within your offense, whether that's ball swings or number of ball screens or, being able to make penetrating passes at the right time. I think that's every journey every team's ever gone on. I think every coach in the country at some point of the year is going to go into their film room with their guys, and they're going to write, 0 with, here's our efficiency, 1 with our efficiency, 2 with our efficiency. And the number is going to refer to number of ball swings. Like obviously if we don't swing the ball, we're not, you're scoring 0.6 points for him. Every coach is going to do that. Sure. I mean, that's just a common thing. So I think it's just, is this where we're at, and teaching players and have an understanding that, they're going to have to use each other to get the things we want on offense.
This summer, you coached the U19 team to a gold medal, and one of your star players was Cole Pete, who is obviously going to be with you at Arizona. How much can you gain from that time spent specifically with him in Switzerland earlier this year?
A lot. Yeah. Koa had a lot of USA basketball experience. He'd already had 3 gold medals previously, so he'd kind of knew what the USA basketball thing was about. This is my first time coaching him with USA basketball. And to be honest with you, when you're coaching in a tight window, you have like 3 weeks to get it in and get it done. You have to kind of, at least my belief is you have to coach to your strengths as a coach, as long as it fits the team. So a lot of the things we did with USA basketball would be a lot of the foundational things we're doing at Arizona. There wasn't a lot of difference. So, Koa probably got, an intensive 3-week, deep dive, or let's not call it a deep dive because you can't get to the depths, but like a dive into Arizona basketball. So I think that gave him a little bit of a head start.
Obviously another freshman on your roster has gotten a lot of attention because of his last name, because of his father. That's Bryce James. It feels like this experience for him is going to go differently than Bronny's experience when at USC. It feels like there's less cameras around, less everything. Just what's it like taking on that, let's just say, interesting set of circumstances, coaching the most famous basketball player in the world's son? I don't think of it from that perspective. Like, that sounds pretty grandiose when you say that. But, in our conversations with the family, everything was focused on Bryce having a good experience and Bryce running his own race. And that's my commitment. My commitment is to helping him have a good experience and run his own race and protect him from all the, the nonsense that happens in social media. And Bronny dealt with a lot.
Yeah, a lot. You know, and the thing about Bronny that I think that everyone's kind of forgotten. I mean, let's thank God the kid survived a cardiac arrest in summer workouts. So like to play this season and be in the NBA. Like, I mean, it's let's put it in the category of a miracle. Yeah. Like that he was able to do that. So like that, just a crazy set of circumstances. And then having the opportunity to play with his dad is like, come on, that's a really cool thing. That I mean, I grew up a Mariners fan. Yeah. So you have Ken Griffey Jr.
My condolences,
Senior,
by the way.
Yeah. Well, more to my assistant coach Murph. He was a huge Mariner fan. I'm focused on Arizona basketball. Murph is still mourning. We had to give him like a leave of absence for a couple days.
Yeah, it's tough.
But no, it was a great run for the Mariners. But just that father-son thing's amazing. And Bryce, I don't think there's that sense of urgency. Bryce came to college a year younger, and he wanted to have a college experience, and we're helping him do that. We love having him around every day. He's one of us. There's no, he's not treated any different, and doesn't want to be treated any different than anybody else. So it's been a really cool thing, and I hope at the end of however it turns out that Bryce has a great experience and is thankful for his opportunities, because he's an awesome young dude.
Last thing before I get you out of here. Unconnected to your program, but I wanted to ask you about it because it's been a talking point this week, and it's that Louisville has secured a commitment from a young man who has spent multiple years in the G League at Gonzaga. You were a big part of how the Zags recruiting expanded and elevated. You've always been at the forefront of this stuff. Do you even understand how G League players are getting eligible, and do you now have to have somebody on your staff paying attention to that?
Well, I don't know how many kids it is. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see how many kids exhausted their eligibility and went to the G League. You know what I mean? It can't be more than 10 or 20 kids. Yeah. I mean, it's a really small pool. But it did come out of left field. But at the end of the day, hopefully it's an opportunity those kids need to help them with their careers and their lives. Right. And if that's the case, I'm cool with it. I'm not going to, it does come out of left field, but but the European kids are getting the same treatment. Right. So why should the G League kids be different? It would just be nice if the NCAA and the NBA could get together and honestly just do right by the kids. Right. Whatever that is, I don't know, because, I've chosen to not participate in all the town halls and the conversations, because to me, like, it's craziness. And so I just want to focus on doing my best job day to day with my team. That's the lane I'm going to run in. But it is surprising when you see something like that. But that being said, I hope in 5 or 10 years we look back and say that helped those kids that were able to take advantage of it, that really helped them with their careers and their lives.
Tommy, it's always good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.